Welcome back to another episode of Mind Your Head. This week I have a very special guest. I have my girlfriend Jordan and our little pup Millie.
In this episode we sit down and we unpack our relationship, all things from insecurities, boundaries, conflicts. After 6 years together we've got some stuff to talk about.
Let's get into it. Jordan?
Hello.
How are you going?
Good, how are you?
Very well. Welcome to Mind Your Head.
Thanks for having me.
That's all right. And we've got our little daughter, Millie, joining us. I don't know if you can see that in the video. Thanks for coming on today.
Anytime. I'm excited to be here.
We discussed it earlier of our intentions and what we kind of wanted to get out of this, and I think that is important for people to see our side of this and the journey that I've been on, and you've been there from pretty much from the very start of this journey that I've been on, and it'd be great to sort of get our perspective but also your perspective on this journey that we've been on. And I want to kick things off firstly with how has work and life been for you, because the last 12 months you've experienced a lot of change. Mm-hmm. You've changed careers. Can you just talk a little bit about that process and how challenging that process has been for you? I know you went from a job that you were really passionate about and then realised maybe that wasn't the direction you wanted to go in, and maybe just explain to the people how challenging that was at that time in your life and where you are right now.
So for a bit of context for everyone, I guess, I went to uni and did a degree in exercise physiology, and the whole way through the degree, I guess my end goal was to be a cardiac physiologist. That was the role that I saw myself in, and that was kind of the goal that I was working towards. And I made it. I got the job as a cardiac physiologist at the end of it, and I worked in that role for a couple of years, and it turned out it wasn't all it was made out to be. It wasn't what I was expecting, and there was a lot of downfalls that came with the career that I maybe didn't realise when I was in.
Is this distracting?
Yeah.
Kristen?
Oh yeah, so I was working as a cardiac physiologist at the end of my degree, and there was a lot of aspects of the job that wasn't quite right for me. I didn't enjoy it, and a lot of reasons went into my decision, but I ultimately decided to leave that career. So it's a big change. It's been a really good, healthy change for me, I think. Like, I've moved into digital marketing and I'm working in a digital marketing firm at the moment, but it was something that I struggled with a lot, and I probably still do struggle with, because I guess a lot of people will see that change and they'll think, oh, you put all this work into this degree, you made it with a really successful job, and, you know, it's an impressive job that people often ooh and ah at. What's the reason for the change? And often when you do have reasons like it's not good for my mental health, or it wasn't making me happy, I was feeling really anxious at work, people maybe aren't as open-minded when you give those reasons, and they are less understanding when it's things like that. They'll be like, but it pays really well, it's a really impressive job, like, worked really hard, you put so much time into it. So yeah, I think that was a really hard change.
Yeah, and I think that's the narrative in society, that people often ignore their mental health challenges at work and just focus on, oh, it's good pay, it's a sought-after job, I'd be silly to leave. And a lot of people just go along and do jobs that they don't necessarily enjoy, or it's causing them a lot of stress and anxiety, and it's kind of ruining their work-life balance. But they're just doing it because it's obviously the money, and it's like a status job. Like, people will go, well, why would you want to leave that? You've just done all that hard work. And then that's something that I really admire, and something I'm really proud of you for doing, because it takes a lot of guts to do all the uni, do all the studying, go through that whole prac. Like, that journey was, how shit was that? All your placements that you went to, and like, barely surviving really. Like you weren't getting paid, and it was a lot of sacrifice at that time. And then, to see you sort of make that decision for your own well-being, it was something that, I really admired from you, because a lot of people wouldn't do that. A lot of people would just, stick it out because they've gone through all that studying and all that hard work. They would just keep going and doing it, even though it's detrimental to their health. So, that's something that I'm really proud of you for doing. And does it feel like a bittersweet feeling that, like, it wasn't for me, but also you look back on it and go, oh man, like, you never use the term waste of time, which is good. I like that you never use that, and it's never a waste of time. But is it a bittersweet feeling that you've changed your careers? Yeah,
it's definitely bittersweet. And it's still something that I'm actually going through at the moment. Like, it's not something that I can kind of look back on and be like, I'm happy with my decision 100%. I don't ever think about it again. It's still something that I really kind of go, did I quit? I think is the major thing that I struggle with. Did I give up? Did I quit? You'll relate to this as well, is that I wasn't passionate about the job. And I think that's the biggest thing that makes me feel okay about my decision as well, is that I woke up every morning and I had a pit in my stomach. I didn't feel like going to work. And I felt really anxious about the job. And the whole day I would be anxious about making a mistake. I would be overthinking everything that I was doing. And don't get me wrong, like, I was actually really good at that job, and I'm really proud at how I performed in that role. And I would often get praise from people about being good at my job. But the toll it took on my mental health and the toll that it took on my work-life balance, like I was carrying those kind of anxieties and it was affecting me outside of work.
I remember the Sunday afternoons and how, like, it would get to 3:00 and instead of still enjoying the Sunday afternoon, the thought of work the next day took control, and it just went from like just sadness really. And even like waking up Monday morning, I just remember you just dreading, like on the car ride to the hospital, I just remember you dreading going to work. And I really felt sorry for you that you were going through that, because I've been through that myself. I've done jobs that, like, Sunday night was just the worst, and then Monday you were just dreading it, and then Friday, it's the best time ever. And I never wanted you to go through that. And even it makes it 10 times when you've done all the studying, you've done all the prac, there's so much build up. And even then, you talking about your job before getting the hospital was like such high hopes, and like you were so pumped to get the job. And even like going for the interview, like you waited like 2 years to get it, and then to realize once you were in there that it wasn't what you actually enjoyed was a bit sad. But also something that I really loved about you is that the effort and determination you put into finding a new job was something that you actually enjoyed. And you put, like, instead of the money or instead of, the status of working at the hospital or anything like that, the narrative that society or your friends think, you purely went on like, all right, what do I enjoy? What is it that's going to get me out of bed on Mondays, or come Sunday afternoon, you're not dreading going to work? And that's something that I really loved out of you, that you put a lot of effort into finding that. And like, it's okay to change careers. It's okay to, if you liked a job and then you suddenly don't like it, it's okay for change. But it's also not okay to be lazy about, all right, well, what's my next thing? You're not going to wait around. It's going to suddenly fall into your lap. And I love that about you, that you went out there, you did a marketing course, you connected with people in the industry, and it always, I know I always say this to you, but it always works out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And now you're in a job that you enjoy. Like, it really suits that work-life balance as well. Like, we only live around the corner from the job. So it's really nice to see you really enjoying your life and not having like that, not that burden, but just having that extra anxiety or stress hanging over you. And like that, the work you're in now really suits your personality too.
Yeah.
Like, you're very introverted, and you don't like that it's the compliment, isn't it? Millie's introverted too.
We can get into my introvertedness.
Yeah, and I think that suits who you are as a person, like that job, like not having there's not life or death No, you have deadlines you got to meet. You can work at your own pace. There's always like ability to work outside of work at home, or and there's that obviously that work-life balance. Like you enjoy going to work, but you also enjoy coming home and seeing this little furball that's ruining the vibe.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that like it's always been super clear to me that no job is worth you dreading going to work every day. Like that was, some people might be able to put up with it, and I feel like it's an very old school thing for people to say, like, you know, work's just work. You just get up, you do your job, you go home. It doesn't matter if it makes you unhappy. Like that's your job. You got to stick to it. And I've always rejected that. I think that like your job is majority of your life, really. Like at the moment, I'm working Monday to Friday. I have 2 days off. Like such a big portion of my life is my job. And why wouldn't I want to do something that I enjoy? Or why wouldn't I want to do something that at least, you don't always have to feel excited. You don't always have to feel like, hell yeah, I'm excited to go to work today. I want to get up and do all these jobs. Like you just, I think, have to have something that doesn't impact you negatively, and that, you know, it aligns well with who you are as a person. I think I've kind of found my little niche of a job that works really well with what I'm good at, and everyone has their strengths and everyone has the things that they work really well at. And I think it's finding that thing that works in well with your lifestyle and works in well with your natural traits that will make you excited to go to work at least most of the time. I think that every step that I've had in my career, even if it's been a misstep, has given me some kind of clarity or given me some kind of guidance into what direction I want to go in. Or like, oh, you know what? I don't like a job where it is life or death. I don't like a job where I have to be put in emergency situations. Like everything that I've done in my life has either closed a door for me or opened another one. Nothing has ever been like, I've done that for no reason. So I've always been really comfortable with all the decisions that I've made because it's led me down the path I am. And everything does work out, which...
It's like that process of elimination to find out what you like isn't always... is the first step is probably like what you don't like.
Yeah.
That's always a process of elimination, and I think all the jobs you've had, you're just eliminating things that you don't like, and it's moving you closer to things that you do like, and you're sort of narrowing that down, and I think you're in a really good space at the moment. Yeah. Enough with that. That went for way longer than I thought it was going to go.
Yeah, it was a big question.
The story of us meeting. Oh. Do you want to tell it, or can I tell it?
You can tell it. I don't know how.
There's two versions, is there?
Yeah.
So we met coming up to 6 years ago. I had just got our relationship. You had just got our relationship, and we had mutual friends that were going to trivia night at the Good Bar. Mm-hmm. And we pretty much got put on a blind date.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? We never met each other, but they were like...
I did push for the blind date.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I played a role in that.
And then our first interaction... because of you can't tell, but there's a height difference.
Yeah.
I went in for a hug. Hey, nice to meet you.
Oh.
And Jordan's forehead, like, came to, like, my chin. And for some reason, I, like, leaned in and kissed her forehead. Something that I've never done prior. And something that you loved that you want me to do more.
Yeah, I actually forgot about that.
And I remember thinking, sitting down and going, that was fucking weird. Why did I just kiss her forehead? But then I also was like, oh, is this a peck? She wouldn't have like realised. And then like a couple of months later, she's gone, the weirdest thing ever is when we met, you kissed my forehead. No, I know, thinking that you didn't realise.
That whole night, because it was such a light little peck on my forehead. I was questioning whether it really happened. Like, after it happened, I was like, did I make that up? Like, did I just feel that? Maybe it was something else. But after we actually chatted about it, you confirmed the kiss.
Yeah, I confirmed it. And then it was about 8 months of...
casually dating?
That's a polite way to put it. Our parents might be watching.
That's why I stepped in with the casually dating terminology.
And then, like, I remember saying, like, I didn't want to get straight into a relationship again. And I decided, because I was still playing rugby, and I decided to do a season over in America. Mm-hmm. And we were seeing each other once or twice a week. And then me going to America for 3 months, I thought it'd be fine. It'd be all good. And I remember you saying to me, 3 months is a long time. And I go, 3 months is fine. Like, don't worry about it. I'll see you when I get back. And I remember leaving, and you were obviously a little bit upset. And I was still thinking, I don't know what she's so upset for. It's only 3 months. And then I remember landing in America, in Boston. And then the first day I got there, I remember just laying in my bed going, shit, I think I fucked up. And then, but what's worked in our favour when that happened was, it was obviously no physical contact. It was all, we actually had to properly...
We had to talk. Communicate
with each other.
Yeah.
And I think that was like the foundation of our relationship, that it was just all communication. That I think that 3 months we actually got to know each other properly and get to know each other on a deeper level.
Yeah.
Even though it was like shitty being away from each other, it forced us to actually talk deeply with each other. And then put effort into it. Like, obviously the time difference, it was also like putting effort into like trying to those FaceTime calls, and actually like also come up with things to talk about, like finding what we like to talk about and coming up with conversations. Yeah. That can be tricky when people first start dating, like what do we talk about? Like, what's your interest? What are you into? And then, like, that forced us to do it.
Yeah.
Which was great. And then, obviously getting back from America, I knew that, like, I was like, yeah, that was a bit silly for waiting that long. But then I look back on it and go, well, it's actually was the best thing for you. I don't know if you agree, but going over there was the best thing for us in the long run. I think it changed my whole mindset about us being in a relationship. And the reason that I wanted to wait, or the reason that I didn't think I was ready to begin with for the first couple of months, was some like insecurities that I had from past relationships, was getting into a relationship too soon and not knowing that person well enough, and then getting to know them when you're already in a relationship, and then finding out that maybe I rushed it and that person wasn't the right person for me. And then finding that out in a relationship and going, oh fuck, I just rushed that whole thing. I should have gotten to know the person more. And then going through the whole breakup and all that sort of stuff, it left it like a sour taste in my mouth, and I was really like just closed off in that way. Like, I just didn't want to rush into anything, but at the same time, I didn't allow love to happen as well. Like, we had a chance to like know each other, but I was still like really hesitant about diving into something and not knowing you fully. But then also I didn't put effort into knowing you fully as well. So it was like I wasn't doing two things that I needed to do.
I do think it was mutual though as well, like, because I had also just broken up with someone maybe a month or two before we started dating. So I think it was both, we weren't in the right headspace to be in a relationship. So we kind of enabled each other in that we didn't really dive deeper. We didn't really want to get to know each other.
Talking about insecurities, what were your insecurities that you struggled with in your past relationship that you might have brought into our new relationship?
Well, I mean, these are insecurities probably, I wouldn't say that I've gotten over them even. Like, I would still say that I have them now. But I'm a massive perfectionist, and with that comes a massive fear of failure. I think that impacts my relationships a lot, because with fear of failure, I find it often hard to admit when I've done something wrong, or when I'm in the wrong, or when I messed up. Like, that's really hard for me to communicate to someone and to admit. So that's still one of my biggest insecurities that I think I'm still working on. I have massive social anxiety. So I often find it hard just communicating to people in general. Like, and I think that in relationships, like I just find it hard to communicate my feelings to people. And I'm a massive people pleaser, which kind of goes into that as well. Like I will often bottle my feelings just to make sure I'm not making someone else uncomfortable. So I think they're probably my top insecurities that I bring into a relationship. Would you agree?
100%. Yeah. Yeah. Admitting when you're in the wrong is something that, triggers me. Because, we're talking about that.
Yeah, we've thought about that before.
We've thought about that. We'll get into fights.
Yeah.
Fights is another subject. Triggers?
Yes.
What are your triggers or situations that tend to heighten your insecurities?
My biggest thing is thinking that someone's keeping something from me.
Yeah.
Not being open, transparent, truthful. That's my biggest trigger. And it's probably the only one that comes to mind actually when I think of
me.
Yeah, just hiding things.
Yeah.
Not being honest.
Yeah. And that's something that we've spoken about before, but I can be very closed off, like surface level. I'll give you enough that you need to know.
Yeah, you only give need to know.
Need to know. I won't give you any more. Any more that shows like vulnerability or shows the real side of me, because I think I was afraid of someone like judging me. Like judgment was a big one, or rejection, or not liking or accepting me authentically.
So you just wouldn't tell them?
So I just wouldn't tell them. I would just give them or pretend to be something that I knew that they would like. So instead of really getting to know me, I'll just show them what they want to see rather than who I am. And that I did that up until I met you, and then like obviously you were seeing cracks and like questioning a lot of things.
Yeah.
And then even then, like I was still afraid to show who I am, my real self.
And what do you think's helped that? Do you think it's just having that opportunity to be honest with someone and it being received well?
Yeah, getting received well. Yeah. Like I was so afraid of it not getting received well, and even like little things about favorite colors, like being pink. Like to paint my nails, the music I like to listen to, and then my interests, like
the listeners probably don't know that your glasses are pink. He's got cute little pink glasses.
My favorite towel's pink.
Yeah, favorite towel's pink.
Yeah, it's like I was so afraid of not living up to someone's expectations, or just feeling like they won't like me, so I've got to be someone that they like. And no one's ever like pushed it or pushed me to the point where I had to reveal myself. Yeah. But like to that extent, like I knew that if I didn't, this probably relationship wouldn't go as far if I wasn't being genuine.
Yeah. Well, I feel like it got to a point like there's only so far that you can go in a relationship with just having the superficial things. Like, we got by probably a couple years, year or two, where we were just getting to know the pretty sides of each other's personalities. Yeah. And then it gets to a point where it's like, well, I know everything about you that's superficial. I know everything about you that you want me to know. Like, what more is there,
And I was probably like trying to buy myself a bit of time. But as the years go on, when you live with someone, you get to see.
It's harder to hide.
Yeah. And that's something that's the message I kind of want to get across to people, is that to not go into a relationship. I know that it's hard and people have insecurities, but try to show your authentic self straight away, because at the end of the day, they're going to find it. The other person's going to find out. Your real self is going to reveal itself. Like who you are is going to reveal itself, and you can't hide what you like forever.
you show them sooner or you show them later.
Yeah, it's going to
just
happen.
Your choice as to whether you show them earlier on.
And I think I talked about it in Leffer's episode, is keeping your individualism. So,
not letting you merge into another person.
Merge, like what you did for me to fall in love with you. Don't change that. Keep that like foundation. I know like over time we'll definitely change, but don't lose who you are and like just all focus on the relationship. I know people like say they enjoy like, exercising or doing some sort of activity, and as soon as you get in a relationship,
you lose it.
And then they throw out like, I don't have time to do that anymore because I'm in a relationship. Like, well, no. Like, you need to keep doing the things that you like or the things that you enjoy, because that's what the other person loved about you, is doing those things. Have you noticed any progress in your insecurities over time, over our relationship?
Yeah.
They've gotten better?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think like it comes with getting older as well. I think the older you get, and if you make an effort and try and be conscious of your insecurities, you start to notice them. You always want to improve yourself and work towards being a better person. So I think once you start to notice them, you start to think more about how you can improve them. The other side of that is being in a relationship that allows you to do that. Like us having those open conversations about like, okay, why did you get triggered in that situation? What did I do that triggered you? And then you also saying like, what did I do in that situation? I think having someone else to reflect with and someone else to kind of talk that through is really important when you're trying to acknowledge your insecurities and work on them.
Yeah, and I think I waited too long to tell you one of my insecurities was someone laughing at one of my ideas or thinking they're stupid. For everyone listening, that conversation only happened maybe a month ago.
Yeah.
Would you say?
Yeah.
That Jordan off the cuff would say something like, I'll have an idea, and Jordan would like sort of not laugh at it, but like sort of scuff at it.
Yeah.
Blow it off. Yeah. And like you would think nothing of it, but to me, that's like a trigger for me. Yeah. It's like shooting down my ideas, and it would bring down my confidence to then show more ideas or my opinions or something. All my confidence would just go down. I go, well, I'm not going to share anything. It would really close me off. And this is like 5 years into a relationship, and then I finally revealed that to Jordan, that I'd never like spoken to you about it. And then now it was brought to your like attention and your awareness, and now you're conscious of it. But I should have been more upfront and honest about my triggers from the very get-go. And then,
but yeah, I think that's one of the things as well, though. It's like you might not have always been aware of that trigger. So you have to like first acknowledge that, hey, there's a bit of a pattern here. I seem to be getting triggered whenever Jordan like flippantly laughs at one of my ideas, or like, do you feel like you've known that for a while, or do you think
I was too embarrassed. I think embarrassment to show flaws is something that's held me back.
Yeah.
Like not having the confidence to say there's something wrong with me. Not so much wrong with me. It's more so like, just being confident about saying, I'm not perfect. I've got triggers. And I was so afraid of having anything wrong with me or showing any sort of weakness or vulnerability, that even like all the mental health stuff that I went through, I was so scared to share it with anyone because I didn't want someone to be like, what's wrong with Elliott? And I was so scared of like, and embarrassed that I get triggered by something so silly. And people would be like, that's silly. Why would you get triggered by it? And that was like another fear. I'd be like, oh, fuck yeah, what? That is silly. Why do I get triggered by it? And it would just like pile on and pile on and pile on. And I would just keep suppressing it. So that's another thing, is people feeling embarrassed about having insecurities. Yeah. When it's completely normal to have insecurities, I think it's natural and normal.
Everyone has them.
That you shouldn't hide them or feel embarrassed about it, and having like a close friend or a partner that you're able to talk to with, and then have a safe dialogue with them, and not know that they're going to like call you silly, or even that they might think it's silly, but to you it's something important. And that's something that I really loved, that you were so accepting and welcoming, and like just never like put me down about it or made me feel silly about it, or never said that was stupid. You would always accept it and go, okay, that's that will trigger, like, let's move forward from it? Like, how do we move on from it?
Well, I mean, that's why I love the whole concept of your podcast as well, is that, like, a lot of these things are just conversations that need to be had. Like, most of the time, your friends or your partner, they love you, they care about you, and they would never, if they're good friends and if they're a good partner, want to do something that's hurting you on purpose. So, like, that example, I didn't know that I was doing something that was actually really hurting you and was actually putting you down a lot. And it was just that conversation that needed to happen. There was actually an argument where I was like, why are you so upset about this? What has caused this? And it wasn't until you said that it really triggers me when you do this that I said, okay, well, I'm sorry. I didn't know that was something that was triggering you, and now I can be conscious of that going forward. And because I love you and because I care about you, I'm never going to laugh at your ideas, or I'm going to be more sensitive about how I tread around those kind of things. And, you know, we can have that conversation about setting me up for success as well. When you bring up ideas, I didn't realize that when you bring up an idea, because you're such a closed off person a lot of the time, these aren't off the cuff ideas. These are ideas that you've actually been thinking about for a really long time. And so when you bring an idea up to me, or when you have something that you want to tell me, it's likely something you've been mulling over for a while, and it's actually pretty important to you. And so, like, yeah, it was just great that we had that conversation. And it's
like it was like a 30-second conversation that I was so afraid to have.
And it was a big fight too. Like, we had that fight over, like, it was a good day or two or something. We were angry at each other. And at the end of it, like, it was great. It was like a light bulb moment. Like, oh, that makes so much sense. I feel like I understand Elliott as a person now.
Yeah, and it was such a, I don't want to say easy, but it was such a simple solution that we, like, blew out to something that it shouldn't have been. And then once we sort of revealed more stuff about each other, it was like, oh, well, was that all it was?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. You can come sleep in the bed now.
Yeah.
Next subject.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah.
You like that?
Yeah.
Setting boundaries.
Oh, yeah.
How have you navigated setting your own boundaries between your friends, your family, and then me?
Not very well, to be honest.
You haven't?
No, I think that, like, it's definitely something that I've worked on a lot. I think if I'm reflecting on my past relationship in particular, it's something that I really looked back on and was disappointed in myself that I didn't have a lot of boundaries, particularly with, with boundaries you can talk about a lot of things in terms of, like, hard boundaries of, like, I'm not going to let someone treat me that way, or I'm not going to let someone speak to me that way. I think mine were more, like, softer boundaries, like, I value my family, I value my exercise, I value my self-care time, and I would bend those things and kind of merge into my relationship a little bit more and let those things go. And I think that was a big thing for me and a big thing of growth that I've tried not to do as much in our relationship. It definitely still happens. Like, I can see myself prioritizing time with you over doing exercise and things like that. So
do I help with that though, or do I?
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, absolutely. You're the kind of person that always encourages me to do the things that are important to me, and you know the things that are important to me, so it really helps that you...
Do you think I push too hard at it though?
Sometimes. You've gotten a lot better though.
Have I?
Yeah.
I still get filthy inside.
So there was this weird period where we're delving deep into this now, where so exercise is really important to you, and as it is to me, it's important to me, but it's probably more important to you. Coming from an athletic background, you are very disciplined, and you're a person who loves routine and loves to fuck yourself up at the gym.
I know where you're going with this.
Yeah. And there was a period that Elliott would encourage me to exercise, which I wanted to do anyway, so I welcomed the encouragement. But we would go to the gym together, and Elliott would be like, what's the point of you going if you're not going to flog yourself in the gym? Like, if you weren't to the point of throwing up. afterwards, why'd you even go? And I have such a different outlook on exercise. Like I exercise for enjoyment. I exercise for my mental health. I will move my body, whether that be a walk down the street, and that can be my movement for today, if that's all that I'm able to do. And I would say, like, go me. I did a bit of exercise today.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was probably the biggest one that comes to mind, where you would push that a little bit.
That was early on in a relationship, wasn't it?
On.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think as we've gone on a little bit,
yeah,
I think you know me a little bit better now.
I think I've relaxed on that.
And just because it's important to you, or you have a certain set of values around exercise, doesn't necessarily mean that I have to fulfill them as well.
I think a part of that also was exercise was something that I knew you did or enjoyed before we got into a relationship.
Yeah.
And it was something that I feared you were losing because of the relationship. So I think I went a little bit too far because I never wanted you to change who you are.
Yeah.
And sometimes I felt like you were just really unmotivated to exercise.
And so the flip side of this as well is that sometimes I feel like when somebody's pushing me to do something too much, I get stubborn and I don't want to do it. Like, if you're going, you have to fucking go to the gym today, I'll be like, fuck you, I'm not going. Like, you know, out of
spite.
Yeah, out of spite, I would not go.
Yeah.
So, now we have this obviously really healthy balance where you let me do my thing. I found exercise that I enjoy and we kind of do our things. But, that was... Yeah,
I think I was like, had to relax on like the gym workouts, flog yourself, vomit on you, and now you love, like, understand that you like enjoyment out of your exercise. You don't want to go in the hurt locker. You don't go in the pain cave with me.
I'm not an athlete.
Yeah, but you are an athlete. You like your Pilates and you like your spin class and your bar classes that you go to. And I've had to like relax on the flog yourself, but also encourage you to, like, when I'm home from the mines for the week and then we have limited time together, even though we have limited time together, I know the best to get the best version of yourself is for you to do some sort of exercise.
Yeah.
So even though, like, we are sacrificing time together, for you to go do something that's going to help you become the best version of yourself, and then that time together is going to be even better when we're doing things that are filling our cups up. And then when we do come together, we're at a good energy levels, or we're a good mood, and then we can fully embrace the time together.
Yeah.
That's what I always try to, like, I don't know, sometimes on weekends when I'm back and don't feel like going to the bike class, I'm always get in the bike class now. It's only 45 minutes.
To be really gentle about it.
Yeah, I try to be gentle about it because I know
we're going to bike today. You should probably book in.
I'll cook you a steak if you got a bike.
No, I know you have good intentions, and
I've had to tone it down, I think, a little bit.
But circling back to boundaries, I think they're definitely the boundaries that I struggle to keep. And your FIFO roster being week on, week off, I definitely think that I find them harder to keep because I would 100% drop anything that I have booked in to spend time with you, and I consciously do that. And it's a really hard line to walk to know, like, obviously exercise and looking after yourselves is one of those ones that you should always prioritize, but it is something that it's hard to juggle. It's hard to...
But I always, like, I know the importance. From my point of view, I know the importance of good nutrition or exercise or sleep or time with family and time with friends. I know how valuable that is. So I'm always encouraging you, even if it's not involving me. I know how valuable it is and how important it is to keep those relationships going, or just engaging with someone that you haven't seen, a friend in a while, or even with friends and family, or going to a class, or even just going, I can't be fucked staying up, which is most nights. But even just saying, I'm having an early night. Like, I just want to go to bed and have a good sleep. I'll always encourage that. I'll never... Have I ever?
No, I'm just thinking about the amount of times that I would stay up late and I'd be
and I'm yelling at you
off sleep just because I want to spend an extra
I'm like, go to bed. It's fine. Like,
I'm not even spending time with you anyway. I'm asleep on the couch.
This is a funny question.
Yeah.
Has it been challenging setting boundaries for yourself and being clear about what you won't accept, even when others don't agree?
Depends. I feel like it depends what the boundary is. I've never had an issue. Actually, it probably depends who the person is that I'm speaking to. Like, yeah, I think boundaries with particular friends, like I don't have issues with keeping. Like I have those friends that I can very easily say, like, I'm not going to go out and for dinner, or I don't want to go out that late because I want to have a good sleep.
So you have no issue at saying no to things?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
What are you saying?
I have particular friends that I feel like I've built a relationship with that I can speak really openly with, and they know who I am as a person, and I find it easier to communicate those boundaries with them. I definitely struggle to do that with particular people. Family, I think, is actually one that I would struggle to do that.
Saying no to them.
Say no to family.
Why is that?
I don't know. I think it's probably just the relationship that I have with my parents as well. Like, I really struggle. Probably the people-pleasing comes back into it as well. I struggle with the idea of letting them down. And it can be something as little as them inviting me over for dinner and me having a really hectic day or having other things scheduled in, and it just be super inconvenient for me to, like, go over there. I'd really struggle to say I can't go over for dinner that night.
Do you feel like you let them down?
Yeah.
Have they ever said anything to you, though?
No.
No. So where does that come from? Because I know how encouraging and, like, polite and nice and understanding your mum and dad are.
Yeah.
I know that they would never.
Yeah.
Fuck, Jordan, let us down.
Yeah. They would never say those words.
They'll never ever utter those words. So it's interesting to like that fear of letting someone down. I wonder where that sort of stems from, especially with your parents. Maybe it was someone else, but I know that I know that your parents would never, like, talk about you like that.
Yeah.
They must be like, your dad would be like, oh, she's had a big day at work.
Yeah. I think it does stems from my relationship with my parents from when I was younger.
Oh, okay.
Because we had a very different relationship then to what we do now. And my parents have been very conscious of that as we've gotten older, to make sure to allow me to have my own, like, to speak up, basically.
Yeah.
Because I was always a really quiet person, always a really introverted person, and a people pleaser, so I'd often be
saying yes
just
to things.
going ahead with anything.
Yeah.
And doing what the other person wants to do. And my mum has said to me before that she hit a point where I was in my teens and she really had to step back a little bit and let me disagree with her and let me speak up. But I think it's just that thing as well. I know they're always going to be your parents as well. They're always going to be a bit of a figure that you look up to. It's that different power dynamic maybe. Like, you're always going to feel a bit like their child. And I don't think I've quite stepped into that yet, where I feel like I'm 100% my own adult and I can just be stern with them.
The clock's ticking.
Yeah. Maybe it'll come when I become a mother myself and I have my own family, and
you'll have to set some boundaries there, won't you?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. But yeah, they're probably the people that I struggle the most. But yeah, like you said, it's really quite strange because my parents are so
nice, kind
and understanding, and they would never feel as though I've let them down. If I said no to dinner, they'd be like eye rolling at that. Yeah. But yeah, I find it really hard to set boundaries with them sometimes.
Conflicts and fights.
Here we go.
We can both agree that we don't like or we don't enjoy fighting or having conflicts. I get really sweaty when I have fights.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Didn't notice.
But after we have a fight or an argument and we resolve it, the days afterwards, I feel like we experience a huge amount of growth as a couple, and we really learn more about each other on such a deeper level. I never think that the fights we have are a waste. I feel like every fight that we have, it's an opportunity. It's been an opportunity for us to know each other better. And I remember, like, saying to you earlier on in the relationship that, like, every time we have a fight, not one thought has gone through my head that this relationship's not for me or this girl's not for me. Like, I've never thought about breaking up with you. I remember saying to you, these are getting to know you fights.
Every one of our fights means something.
Yeah.
It's our fights bring up an underlying issue. So I think that we've gotten to a point now that we know that, and we know that when we're having an argument or when we're upset with each other, we've triggered something and we've brought up an issue. And I mean, get to the point now where we fight and we can have our space, or we can go our separate ways for a little bit. And we know that it's not the end of the relationship. It's just us.
Like decompressing.
Yeah, it's just us thinking, it's us processing, and it's giving each other the space to, and, you know, we're eventually going to come back and we're going to chat about it. And I think that's a really nice, safe space to be in, because earlier in the relationship or in past relationships, you know, you can have arguments and the only thing going through your head is like, oh, is this the end of the relationship? Or does he hate me? What's going on? And that can kind of make it really cloudy for your thoughts, because you're so heightened in your emotions that you don't actually have the time or the mental space to step back and say, like, what is this argument really about? Or why am I upset? What am I feeling? But when you remove that fear of the relationship going through something terrible, like, I just feel a lot better about it, and I feel like, okay. It's
like rules of engagement.
Yeah.
Like, how do I express anger and frustration in a healthy way?
Yeah.
And rules being like, this isn't relationship ending. It's just we need to, like, fix this and get to the bottom of this. Yeah. So let's just let it all out and then fix it now instead of, you know, half-assing it, and then later down the track you have another argument. I think that's such an important message, is that it's okay and healthy and completely normal to have conflict and arguments and disagreements on things. But the same way, it's really important to resolve them truthfully and honestly. Like, if you're going to go through that, this is the time to be honest and truthful. Because I think when it becomes an issue, it's like when you have the same argument about the same thing over and over again, it becomes repetitive.
Yeah.
That's when it becomes like, I think, a deeper issue. And I think none of our fights have ever been the same.
Yeah. Although I will say, so on that, like, this is something that we've learnt and gotten better at over time. Like, we were pretty bad at it to begin with. Like, we would have an argument and we would almost sweep it under the rug and ignore it. And we would, like, kiss and make up, and then it would come up again down the track in a slightly different form. And yeah, I think that's when you know that you're not fully resolving the issue. Is that,
yeah, it goes back to, like, completely being honest.
Yeah, like, you can settle down about it and you can feel okay about it in that moment, but it's going to come up again. And it might not be the exact same thing over and over, but it's going to come up in one way or another. And I think,
yeah, it's like learning how to fight in a weird way. Like,
yeah, it is learning how to fight.
You're like, when we're early on, you're like, you don't know how this person's going to respond in a fight. So, like, how do I, like, not be as honest or as not brutal, but, like, how do I not give it all because I'm afraid that we might break up?
Yeah.
And then as the relationship goes on, you go, all right.
You get to know each other's fighting styles.
And, like, now you can just be 100% into it. You're not going to, like, offend that person. Well, you might, but you might not take it to heart as much as if I said it to you 6 months into dating.
Yeah, well, we both know now that, like, our fighting style is to kind of have the argument and we give each other space.
Yes.
And I know that, like, we kind of have similar fighting style in that way, in that, like, I know if I try to talk to you straight after the fights happen, you often kind of close off and you won't speak about it, or you say you don't want to talk about it. And I'll often get too emotional and I'll either cry or I'll just be too emotional that I can't articulate what I'm trying to say. So we now kind of know each other's fighting style, and that, like, that space is good. That space is okay.
I wait until you approach and I go, well, here it is. I'll let you, because I know you like to think about things. I know, like, just words and, like, these sorts of deep things don't just, like, naturally come to you. I know you've got to, like, have time to, all right, really think about the issues at hand, what you want to say, how you want to say it. Yeah. And then when you come to me, I go, all right, she's got a script. She knows what she wants to say. And then I kind of like that too, because I need space as well, because, like, a lot of the time I try not to run on emotion. So I need some time to like set emotion aside and not be so reactive, and then settles me down, and then I'll be like, all right, you can think with a clear head rather than just like, if we go in it straight away, I think that I may not say things the way I want to say it, and it can come off in a wrong way.
Yeah, I think it's important in resolving conflicts. It's probably not always the best idea to go at it straight away and talk about it straight away, because you're often not going to approach the situation in the best way, and you might end up hurting the other person. There's always two sides of the story. There's always two different perspectives, and I love that approach to any kind of conflict or any kind of tiff, is that like there's not one person that's right and one person's that's wrong. It's always like two different ways of interpreting it, or two different views on it. And yeah, it's something that you've improved on heaps, because I remember you used to be like, this is the way it is, and anyone else who thinks otherwise is an idiot, basically.
You can edit that out. I said is wrong.
And we would have tiffs over like
little
just
things,
the stupidest stuff.
Yeah.
And
why would you say it like this for it?
Yeah, and it's just literally seeing the other person's point of view, and you don't have to agree with it.
Yeah.
Like you've gotten to a point now where you don't agree with the ways that I see things sometimes, and you don't agree with the ways that I interpret things sometimes, but you can acknowledge that it's different.
Yeah. I find humour in it now.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's funny how Jordan does that. Like, you just change your perspective on it.
Yeah.
And as soon as you like, just find a little bit of humour in how different we are, and it makes me giggle.
Yeah.
Like, really, you understood that, but you understand this.
Yeah.
And now I sort of like, it's kind of like a funny thing now. And I look back on it now and go, why did I get so triggered? Like, why was I so like stubborn about it had to be done this way? I think one of my issues is control. And we'll go pretty deep with this. I'll go down the rabbit hole a little bit. Is that I had an issue with not being able to control my emotions at my lowest point in time. One of my fears or one of my insecurities was not being in control of my emotions. And then that has trickled away from just my emotions to controlling how people even talk to me, or how I speak to people, or what reactions I get from people, or when I even organising things, when I say to someone, can you go do this, and then they didn't do it the way I've said it to do it. It freaks me out. It rattles me, because I'm like, no, like I want it done like this. And I think it goes back to like not having control over my emotions really right at the like core of it. And then it's just trickled over into like even early on in a relationship when plans don't go to head, and like, you know, my patience levels would just like go through the roof. And and
you've touched on this before, but I don't know if you want to talk about it more. But you often had this habit of, you would get annoyed about something, say I've misinterpreted something or not done something that you had asked for because I took it the wrong way. You would get annoyed that I'd misunderstood, but then you would get annoyed that you're getting annoyed.
Yeah.
And you would kind of get stuck in that spiral a little bit with your emotions.
Yeah. So like a control, again, like of my emotions, I couldn't, when I would get annoyed at something, it would annoy me how annoyed I am at something so little. And then it would go away from you.
Yeah.
And then it would just be in a spiral of 2 or 3 days of just getting annoyed, and then getting annoyed at myself, getting angry at myself for getting angry. And then that was like a catalyst. And you were there like right at the beginning. Like you witnessed like a few breakdowns and episodes where I just got angry at being angry. And it was like a cycle.
Yeah.
And not thinking, how do I fix this? Like, how do I go from here? How do I do it in a relationship? I was like under the impression that I needed to sort my shit out first before getting a relationship. I was like, I can't drag someone else through this shit. And like also keep a relationship going. That was like a struggle that I had, was like, I have to do this by myself.
Yeah.
And allowing you to come in and see me at my worst was a really hard thing to allow, to let someone and see like the absolute core of me and all my vulnerability and all my problems that I was suppressing, and then to see you just be so supportive and like understanding, and like I was really scared that I was just really scared that you would think there's something like severely wrong, and you just wouldn't be a part of it. You're like, no, this is too much. That's what I was afraid of.
Isn't that so funny? Because I feel like I can really relate to that as well. Because I always had this idea in my head, and I feel like it might be a common thing that people think, is that you have all these relationships before you meet the one, and those are kind of like your test runs where you make the mistakes, you have the silly fights, you do the stupid things, and then when you meet the one, everything's perfect. And you show up as a really glossy, beautiful person.
Like the complete package.
Yeah, and they fall in love with you for that person, and you've just evolved over time with all those relationships beforehand. And I find it, because I probably had that point of view when we first started, is that like, oh, you know, all these fights are just like growing me as a person, and like, you know, maybe we'll break up and I'll meet the one and I'll be this perfect Jordan. But it's really interesting how that's changed so much over time, and that like, I love that we've gone through all these fights together, or that we've gotten to know who we are as people together, and that like we didn't show up to this relationship perfect. And if anything, we could have been the worst versions of ourselves at the point that we met each other. But we've grown together and we've helped each other through it. And I think that's really beautiful. I really love it.
I don't even know how to approach this. The issue we had at the start, that was like a really testing time for us.
Yeah, I don't really know how to tell this.
Yeah, I don't really tell this either.
Yeah.
But because it was, I think that like set the tone of like having trust issues between us for like a good year. It was a real struggle, and something that I continue to struggle with during that time where I was trying to get over that trust issue. It was a really like testing time, and it's something that we both struggle with.
And it's hard with trust, like you know it's going to take time.
Yeah, and it was really hard at the beginning because we didn't have that that solid foundation. Like we were very, even though we kind of like knew some things about each other, it was still a very new relationship. That like I think that when that happens, when you're in a like very new relationship, you don't have those solid foundations of like, I will get over it. It'll be fine. Just give me some time and I'll put effort into it. I don't think I put effort into really forgiving you or moving past it. I would just like, all right, that happened. I'm angry. In a month's time, it'll be better.
Yeah.
And a month came and it wasn't better. All right, in a year's time, it will be better. And just thinking time would just heal everything. But I think that's a bit of fool's gold, thinking that if you just rely on time, it will solve all the issues, but it won't. Like, time's important. Don't get me wrong, because it does take time, but you've got to be putting the effort in every single day and being conscious of it, and like being aware of it, and even just like if you have doubts, like just talk about them, rather than like if you go somewhere, I wouldn't ask you like where you going. You know, I would just let you go, and then I would think to myself, oh, who's she with? Well, she says she was this with person, but I wonder if she actually is. I wonder if she's actually not there. She's somewhere else. And it's just like me in my own head, like just working out this like fake story of like insecurities and like jealousy, and then that actually not being reality, and just making things worse for myself. And I think I did that. I think I did that for too long, and not actually being like transparent and be like, all right, I'm still struggling with this. Can you help me through this? Like, what can we do to like work together to help me through this? It was sort of like we left our own devices, secretly dealing with it, and then procrastinating almost about like, oh yeah, well, it's been a year. Surely that's enough time to like you said before, like when's enough time to like move past it? Like, is it a time thing? Is it an actual effort into not recovery, but like is there a process you take? Like you've actually got to put effort into it. It's not. I don't think it's necessarily a time thing. I think it's like how much effort you put into forging that trust back will determine how long it's going to take for you to forge that trust back.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't put effort into it, it's just going to fucking keep going. But if you put actually solid effort into the start, I feel like that time might reduce and reduce.
Yeah. Well, I think, yeah, definitely. Like, it's so hard to tell. Like, there's not a milestone or a time mark that you hit and it's like, cool, we should be over it now.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, that's the end of it. You're only allowed to be mad for 1 year.
Yeah.
That's not how it works.
Yeah.
And everyone's different. But, yeah, it's a really important point that I think that you brought up, that it is two-sided in building that trust back. Even though I was the one who broke the trust, that doesn't mean it falls on me just to build the trust back. It's a two-way street, and both people have to be willing to build it back, and both people have to put energy into it. And I think, like you said, that's maybe one of the points that we went wrong, is that you were maybe just sweeping it under the rug and saying that, like, I'll get over it in time, whereas I was grappling and trying to make it up to you. But then, like, nothing can really make it up to you if we're not both communicating and we're both not working together to build that trust. Like, I would maybe mess up again and be called out on, like, a little inconsistency or a little white lie, whatever it may be. And I'd be like, whoa, that came out of nowhere. But little did I know, like, you're still thinking about it every day and you still haven't fully come to terms with it. We haven't had that conversation about, like, this is X, Y, and Z that you need to do to make me feel safe and make me feel comfortable with you.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was until we started having those conversations that we actually got over it. Like, it probably dragged on for a lot longer than it should have.
A couple of years, easy.
Yeah.
Like I think we avoided that.
Yeah, we avoided it. And that's the thing as well, is, like, obviously when you mess up, you feel guilt, you feel shame. I don't want to talk about it. Like, I don't want to have that conversation with you because it's a tough conversation to have. And, like, I was, as much as you, trying to sweep it under the rug because I wanted to move past it and I wanted to get over it. But, I mean, like we said, all those issues are going to come back.
Do you know your love language?
Quality time.
Yep.
Acts of service.
Yep.
And physical touch would be on there too.
Okay.
What yours?
So I did mine yesterday.
Oh, did you do the test?
I did the test.
Online test.
So mine was intellectual, emotional. I know these are the ones that you know?
No, what list do you go on? No.
So this is what I got back was intellectual, emotional, and physical touch. So and this is really weird because I reckon 10 years ago I would have been 100% physical touch.
Yeah.
But now what I read was that I really value someone valuing my opinions, my ideas, praising, like not so much like always agreeing with me, but just valuing my opinion and having respect for my opinion and not like, you know, talking down to me or making me feel inadequate or anything like that. And then emotional is like complimenting and knowing that you find me attractive in some, doesn't have to be physical, but like giving me some sort of compliment that you find me attractive in any way.
Like words of affirmation.
Words of affirmation. Yeah. And then they were the head to head, those two. And then just behind that was physical touch. Like I'm just going to watch this. I'm very sexual. I think I enjoy physical touch a lot. Yeah. And I think that's, I find it very important in a relationship to have that chemistry. Yes. I agree.
Yes. But I think it's important that, like, your love language, moving on from physical touch, your love languages change a lot over the time. And I think they change depending on what relationship you're in too. Like, I think I could just be pulling this out of thin air, but I feel like I've heard before that if you're lacking something in a relationship, that's often one of your love languages. So, like, for example, if you really, really lack quality time, your love language would be quality time because you value it so much.
Yep.
So I know different relationships, your love languages might change depending on that person and your situation. Like we have a FIFO roster. Maybe that potentially goes into why I value quality time so much, is because it is something that's really sacred.
Scarce, yeah, sacred, yeah. How do you feel about our communication in the relationship?
Yeah, really good. I think we have good chats now.
Good chats?
Yeah, I think we're pretty good with...
Better than we were at the start, obviously.
Yeah, I think we've improved a lot in communication.
Yeah.
I think that you've improved a lot as well, because you often wouldn't speak about things if you had something on your mind. You just keep it to yourself, or you wouldn't want to bother me with your problems or your thinking. So yeah, I think we've gotten really good at it.
How important is it to know how your partner receives love?
Super important. Like, I mean, you could be showering me with gifts, but not spending any time with me, and I could feel really neglected. Yeah. And really like unloved because gifts isn't something that I value. I would rather, sit on the beach and talk to you for 2 hours rather than get given a beautiful Marc Jacobs bag or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And like, none of them are wrong, but you can be giving love to your partner in a way that they're not receiving, and then they can feel really unloved.
Yeah. What has our relationship taught you about love?
I think it's taught me unconditional love, which is...
What is unconditional love to you?
I think it is, and this might be different for everybody, but I think it is being able to be your authentic self. Like, I can show up as my authentic self to you, and I know that you're going to love me, and even the parts of me that I am potentially really ashamed of or I don't like about myself, you love them. And like, I think that's what unconditional love is to me, is being able to show up as yourself to someone and knowing that they're going to love every single part of that.
That's nice.
Did you you don't love them all.
I love everything.
But you love me as a whole. I
love the annoying things. Fears and doubts that you had over the course of our relationship, and some things that I want to ask you were the fears and doubts of like sort of the episodes and my own concussion issues, and you witnessing a lot of mood swings and a lot of anger and a lot of I wasn't very patient with anything really. And I remember you sitting me down and like we had an argument, and I actually can't remember what the argument was, but I remember you sitting me down and like saying to me that you were really worried about our future together, becoming parents. This is how you're going to react over such little things, and having zero patience with your frustrations, with your emotions, and really worried that, listen, if we're going to continue this and become parents, like kids are going to like test your patience, they're going to test your energy levels, they're going to make you angry, but it's like so imperative that you just keep, I'm not saying like parents don't get angry, but like you can't just like cause an argument, cause a scene, lose your cool, in a very unhealthy way, in a very scary way. Were they some of your like biggest doubts, I guess, with me?
Yeah, I remember that fight really well. The biggest fear for me was that you weren't able to self-regulate yourself. And exactly like you said, you're allowed to be angry, you're allowed to be frustrated, you're allowed to be upset, but it really concerned me that you weren't able to regulate yourself in that moment and not just react or not just blow up. And I remember thinking to myself in that moment, I wasn't going to accept for myself anything that I wouldn't accept for my children. So like, I wasn't happy with you blowing up at me. How would I feel when you blew up at our children potentially? So I remember that really freaking me out a little bit, but you've improved on that a lot. You've become really good at self-regulating. I remember that day. Do you remember what ticked you off?
Yes.
A trip to IKEA.
IKEA trip.
Trip to IKEA.
These fucking bins that she bought were just horrendous.
But,
Not joking, by the way. They were IKEA bins, yeah. But I think that was those things. It's funny, like, I would not blow up at big things.
No.
I would lose it at little things.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I would love for a psychologist to come on the podcast and dive deeper into this with me, but I would never blow up at the big things, but the little things like the bins from IKEA, the chairs that I didn't agree with.
There was a couple things that went into that blow up.
There was such little things that didn't deserve any sort of overreaction that this...
The Optus guys messed up our internet. Do you remember that? You were trying to connect up our internet and you were talking to them.
I will defend that one, that I reckon any other person that have dealt with Optus not connecting Wi-Fi... No, that's silly. But
no, absolutely. People would get annoyed at that. Yeah.
Yeah, like even like leaving the stove on, or I left leaving the fridge on, like door open overnight. Like those things would just like absolutely ruin me for days. And I would let it though. I would let those things ruin me. I wouldn't have any self-control or any awareness or put any effort into going, all right, no. Like I'm not going to lose it. Like I felt like I had no control. I felt like this ruled me. I had no other option. I have to lose it. But it's so false. Like we always have decisions. We've always got options. I just chose the wrong one all the time. And I felt like I had no other options. But what I know now is that I've always got decisions. There's always two ways to go. You can either get angry and react about it, or you can regulate your emotions. You can think, all right, I now know like I'm in a state where I'm pissed off and frustrated. I now acknowledge that and realize that's the state I'm in. Now I can control it. Yeah. Whereas I would just let it get the better of me all the time. I wouldn't put any effort in it. When it would start rearing its head, I would just let it free will. But now I recognize it, and now I know when it's coming. Now I can just like sort of sit in it almost and breathe through it, and then almost forget about it. Not so much forget about it, but I let it come, then I just let it go instead of like controlling me. Like when I got that fine on when I didn't pay my rego and we got fined. I got fined.
Pulled over.
And we got pulled over, and Jordan, I got fined like $400 fucking something bucks, and Jordan was looking at me like, fuck,
waiting for the
blow up. And I remember like, I've got money there. I've got a job. I've got money. I'll pay it. It's my mistake. I can't blame anyone. Like otherwise, I would have just lost it.
Well, you can let those things ruin your day. Like you can have such a small incident, and like you said, you do have kind of choices on to whether you want to dwell on that one point and whether you want to let your emotions kind of take over. And that's the only thing you can think about for the next couple of days.
I think I was doing it in an unhealthy way. I think it's okay to let out frustration, let out anger, but I think I was doing it in a very, I wouldn't say violent, but it was a very unhealthy, scary way.
Definitely wouldn't say violent.
Yeah,
we should put a disclaimer here as well that your blow-ups were never violent or abusive or anything like that. No. It was purely just like verbally angry.
Yeah.
And like irrationally angry. That was what we mean by blow-ups.
Blow-ups,
it'd be a completely different.
It would almost be like, it'd almost be more anger towards myself than anything else.
Yeah. You'd just be irrationally frustrated at yourself or irrationally angry at yourself.
Yes, I agree.
What do you think's helped with that?
I think actually acknowledging it, and like I said before, was putting effort into not letting it control me.
Yeah.
I think actually when it comes up and going, I'm a little bit frustrated. That's what the thought goes in my head. When something happens, like when Millie shits at the studio, I go, I'm a little bit frustrated at that. But then I'm like, there's always like two perspectives you can go. Like Jordan got the wrong chairs. I didn't like the chairs. You get angry or you go, they're just chairs. They were like $20 from IKEA. Yeah. Like what I've realized is that all the times that I've been frustrated, there's different perspectives on it. Like when I got fined, I got money, I got a job, I can pay the fine. It's my fault. Like when I hit that door, hit that at Woolies, that metal curb, dented my car, put a fucking scrape down my door. Like it's fine.
Yeah, you did so well. Then I was so proud of you.
You?
Yeah, he put a massive scratch in the car door, and I mean, he's only this year. You've made massive leaps in your self-development and how you regulate yourself. It's super impressive. But yeah, I still find myself, like I catch myself going, here we go.
Yeah.
Something's going to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's been a couple times now that fine and the car is probably two big ones that I can think of.
I still let out, I think it's important, like I still let out frustration. It's not like I'm bottling things up and I'm like suppressing all these things. Like I still let it out. It's just...
But you manage it in a healthy way.
Yeah, I manage it in a healthy way. Like going to the gym is huge for letting out frustration and like just letting out built up energy.
Yeah.
Like you might get frustrated and you might let out that frustration, but there's still energy stored that I feel like for my outlet is just going to the gym and just thrashing myself. And I let out all that energy, all that frustration and all that like anger or whatever it is. I can just let it out, just absolutely flog myself. And I leave the gym going, oh, I feel a whole lot better. Even like my perspective on things that would make me angry. I'm like, I don't know why I was so angry at that. Like that's my sort of like meditation. When people have their form of like meditation, people can sit there and just like, cancel everything out in their head or focus on one thing and just be present and still. Like people read books or go for runs or go fishing, like go surfing. Like everyone's got their own like form of meditation. Mine's working out. Like go to the gym and just put a solid session in. That clears my mind completely.
I feel like I love talking to people about it. And maybe that's a girl thing as well. I feel like girls get a lot of release out of this. But when something annoying or frustrating happens, like we often have a girlfriend that we can go to and just offload on. And, you know, they'll often agree with you or be like, oh, yeah, that was silly or that was annoying. And, like, you have that emotional support there. And you always walk away from a girl's chat feeling like, yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
I
feel great about that now. Like, and you can let it go.
And that's important, like having solid friends that you can trust and that you've known for a while.
Yeah.
Or not only that you know for a while, but you know them on a deeper level that you could trust their input, their advice, or they can just sit there and just listen to you.
A lot of the time it's just listening.
Is it? Yeah.
Or like chirping in when like they want to, you just want someone to agree with you that it was frustrating, or you just want someone to agree with you that it was something annoying that happened to you, you know? A bit of sympathy.
Yeah.
And you just walk away feeling good. I feel heard. I've let my emotions out. I've spoken and now I can move on.
Self-reflection.
Yeah.
How do you think our different life experiences and ages have played a role in our relationship?
Can you tell me?
Yeah, so how's it played a role? Like I feel that I've experienced a lot in my life. I've seen some really dark ends of life, some really harsh realities of life. And I've seen the highs and I've seen some really deep lows. I think that has played a role in terms of like you've had a very sheltered, really, really amazing upbringing.
Yeah,
like,
I've been super fortunate.
Super privileged and had a very sheltered life that I think maybe our perspectives of the world and how we see the world sometimes. You're very mature. Like, you know, there's two sides of life. Like, you know that there's some heavy shit that goes down in life, and then you know you've experienced like the good side of life. But I think like even just in life experiences, like I've seen like say people dying. I've gone through like my really bad troubles with like my mental health that I've, you know, come close to like dying, and I've had like my addiction. Yeah, I would say my addiction issues, but I just think that we come from like a very different background.
Yeah. Do you think that that's affected our relationship?
I love your outlook on life.
I'm a bit naive.
Yeah, not in a mean way, but I love your outlook on life. Like, yeah. I love that about you, though. I do. I love that you are just so like not naive in terms of like the harsh realities of life. Like obviously being in the army and like witnessing like different experiences in my life, and like I've seen like people pass away and like car accidents and like really like nasty, brutal sides of life. Yeah. And I'm like, it's almost like ingrained in me, like especially being in the army and they show you like people dying to sort of like get you used to that in terms of like getting you.
You see the negative side of life a little bit.
So I see the negative side of life. Like I'm very cautious. Like I walk around, even when I walk around the street, when I'm with you or at the shopping centre, I'm like looking at people going like...
Assessing them.
Yeah, assessing them. Like analysing them. Like what are they... Like what's their body language like? Are they...
Yeah.
Are they... You know, I'm really aware of like my surroundings, and I'm very... It's not so much I have a negative outlook on life, but I think I'm really cautious and aware of like negative things that could happen. Like when I'm driving... when I'm driving, I like driving. I enjoy driving. But when I'm driving, I am analysing every single car and looking at how they're driving, what they're driving, like if they're swerving, like if they're using the indicators, do they follow the road rules, what speed they're going. Like and if there's a car coming up behind me, I'm looking at an escape plan just in case that car, like if that car merges and doesn't see me, like what do I do? Like I'm constantly like analysing different scenarios.
Yeah.
And you're just in the passenger seat with Millie going, "Ooh, we're going to the beach." And I'm like, I'll get us there.
Definitely more happy-go-lucky.
Yeah.
And yeah, I tend to see the positives in life a lot more. And I am super gullible because I believe the best in people all the time.
I love that about you.
Yeah.
I'm here to like...
We balance each other out.
Yeah, it's a balance. I think that's a good way to put it. What specific expectations or pressures you feel from society when it comes to being in a relationship? Something that I already spoke about was the right versus wrong situation. I think that each person's situation is different, and I guess there's no like guidebook to a relationship. Like I think that what might work for us won't work for someone else.
Yeah,
and I think some pressures is like comparing your relationship to someone else's, or I think that's a very slippery slope to go down, is like, well, we're just doing what they do. Why are they happy? We're not happy. And like, you don't know that they are completely happy either. Like everyone's struggling, or everyone's got their own shit going on. I think comparing your relationship to someone else's is just like a nasty way to go about it. And also on top of that, like asking for advice from, say, a friend or a family member about your relationship is like, it can be a good thing, but I also think it can be a bad thing, because now you bring on their insecurities, their biased thoughts, their past experiences, their past feelings of what they've gone to. Now they don't mean to do it, but that's just inbred in them, that they bring that onto you. And I think that like it's all really good to get advice and to get a different opinion, but it's also like a very like double-edged sword that potentially be a negative thing as well.
There's so many good points in that.
Thank you.
I'm like, I don't know where to start. It's a really tough thing to approach sometimes, and I don't know if there's really a right way to it. I think there's heaps of judgment when it comes to relationships, and it's really hard to walk that line of, obviously you want to talk to your friends or your family about potentially problems that you're having in your relationship, and then you also want to respect your partner and what you're sharing with other people. I think that's really difficult. And then, like you said, everyone has their own baggage, everyone has their own perspective, and they're going to show up to that conversation with their own lens and their own experiences. And they'll give you advice based on their experiences, but that's not always the right advice. And then, the judgment that comes with it, I think that, your friends want to back you, and your friends often will take your side, but it doesn't always mean
it's the right side.
That it's right. And the same goes, I could tell a story to my friend about our relationship, but I'm telling it from my side. They don't get to hear your side of the story. So of course they're going to back me. Like it's fully swayed towards me.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think it's a really tough conversation to have. I have started to approach things with friends, and when they talk to me about relationships, I think listening is often just the best way to approach it. Like when your friends come to you with issues in their relationship, they don't really want you to solve them, and often you don't have the solutions. You don't know the whole story. I mean, I think the best thing that you can do is just listen to them, hold space for them, and try not to judge the situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really tricky one.
This probably might go back to like boundaries, but have you had any troubles balancing your friends, work, personal time, and me?
Not so much anymore.
You did at the start?
I did at the start.
Yeah.
I'm a big advocate for the FIFO roster. And Elliott hates it because I always say that I love the FIFO, which...
I don't hate it, but it's funny like how... Like, I don't know, like the start, like I don't know how this is going to work. Like 1 week on, 1 week off, like I'm barely going to see you. And now it's just like, when do you leave again? Like, do you leave? Like, surely you leave again, don't you?
It's a great relationship setup. I recommend it. And
Fuck.
I mean,
I can't wait for Elliott to leave for the week.
that's not true.
I get it because it gives you your time.
Yeah, and it probably plays into my issue with, like, I've always been really bad at having those boundaries for things like exercising times with friends and stuff like that. So the FIFO thing kind of forces me to be independent, and I'm really comfortable being alone now, and I'm really comfortable being independent. I'm really proud of that. I think it's something that, even though it was kind of forced upon me, it's something that I think everyone should have in a relationship, is just be fully comfortable on your own. Like, you bring so much value to my life, but I'm okay by myself. And I love that when you're away, I get to make time for other things that are important to me. I get to spend quality time with my family. I get to catch up with friends and not be looking at the clock and thinking, oh, Elliott finishes work soon, let's wrap this up. I get to be present with them, and I get to exercise and just focus on my own schedule and just be a bit selfish, think about me and what I want to do. And yeah, that's why I love it.
Nice.
But I love having you home. And then when you're home, equally, we get to spend quality time together.
I think that's important too, to like know that I think being selfish sometimes has a negative connotation to it. I think that being selfish can be a very healthy, positive thing, and almost a necessity at some points in life, like to be selfish and just to focus on yourself, whatever that may be. If it's just chilling on the couch with the tea, or if it's doing a hobby, or having time for oneself, and like prioritizing oneself over anything else is crucial.
Yeah, I reckon that's one of the most important things in a relationship, is making time to be selfish.
Yeah.
Not everyone has the luxury of having their partner leave for a week and forcing themselves to be selfish.
Your language there, like the luxury, I don't think that was needed, was it? No, I get it. I love that it's not a struggle. I was really worried about going out there and going far out. Like I was really worried that you were going to struggle. It makes... Huh?
Me too.
Yeah, but because I don't like leaving, but it makes me leaving a whole lot better knowing that you enjoy your time by yourself. I would hate it every time I left if you just really struggled. So it makes my life a lot easier when I have to leave, knowing that you're independent. You actually enjoy doing your own thing, looking after yourself, seeing your friends, and making most of this week, rather than I was just dreading, like, oh, I wonder if she's going to hate this, and then if she hates it, I'm going to have to come home, and then I'm going to find another job. So it's like, yeah, it's good that it's worked out.
And it's been good for our relationship too. You put a lot of effort into our relationship when you're home, and that's really lovely. I think if you're with someone and your partner works 9 to 5, we often take each other for granted. Like, I remember when we were working normal schedules, Monday to Friday, like, you get home at the end of the day, you're exhausted, you maybe give each other a hug, like, don't really acknowledge each other too much. You'll maybe make dinner, have dinner together, might be on the couch watching Netflix or scrolling through your phones, like, you're there, but you're not present with each other. And I think that's a big shift that happened in our relationship when you started going away, is that we really started making an effort to be present with each other when we had that time together, Yeah.
This is the ending.
Yeah?
So, short answers, please.
Okay.
Goals for the next 5 years, personal and work. If you don't want to mention work, that's fine. What are your goals? What are you looking forward to?
Traveling.
Yes.
We, in our relationship, haven't done a lot of travel, so I'd love to get some of that in. Work-wise, I'm really happy where I am at the moment. I'm excited to just keep progressing my career. Personally, I'm just really happy in the way that I'm developing myself in the past couple of years, and I'd just like to continue on that path of self-development, really. Yeah, because
I do want to touch on that, because I've seen a huge amount of growth in you in the last probably 2 to 3 years, like the journey that you've been on, and how much your values have changed, and how you're becoming more yourself, like truly authentic, genuine yourself, and not worrying about what other people may think. You're just so confident in your own values, and you've changed.
Yeah, I
a
feel
lot.
like I'm finding myself.
Yeah, you've changed a lot since I met you, but you've also stayed the same in so many ways as well. And it's been really beautiful to see just how much growth you've had, and like really nice that I've been there the whole time and sort of witnessed it, and hopefully I played like a small role in
Big
that
role.
big role.
Big role.
Any new hobbies you want to explore?
Oh, not a new hobby, but a hobby that I want to revisit. I used to play the piano when I was younger, and that's something that I've stopped doing since I moved out of my parents' house. They have the piano there, and, you know, pianos are huge, they're hard to move. But I went over the other day and I started having a little tinker, and, you know, my fingers don't quite remember all the tunes that I used to be able to play. So I'd love to be able to pick that back up again.
Yeah.
I've recently gotten back into reading. I feel like I didn't enjoy reading when I was at uni. You know that you had to read at uni. They gave you textbooks and things.
I didn't go to uni.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Bugger.
But yeah, I've started to enjoy reading again, which is really nice.
Favorite memories that we've had together? You can, we can lift up Millie too if Millie wants to be in camera.
Favorite memories together. It's so hard. There's so many. I love a lot of our memories together, and I feel like a lot of our memories are really insignificant. Like,
What, buying our first house?
no, I feel like it's the little things that I really value. Like,
Getting ice cream at Coolum and going to the dog beach.
yeah, like afternoon drives after work. Like, so Elliott often drops me off at work and picks me up on the weeks that he's at home. You know, it's those days where I've had a really tough day at work and he picks me up and he can tell that I've had a tough day. And he'll say, do you want to go for a drive? And that, I value that so much. It's the highlight of my day, going for a drive and getting gelato and going for a little walk on the beach with Millie. I love those little moments, everyday moments.
Don't.
No, not crying.
Okay, so I've got a bit of surprise for you.
Oh, here we go.
So just like my normal tradition of the podcast.
Yeah, I was waiting for this.
Were you?
This will be the moment that I'm going to cry if I'm going to do it.
No, you won't cry.
Okay.
So the closing tradition is I get a loved one, a family member, a close friend. They send in questions for the guest. So my first question is from Millie.
Yeah, she's written something in. Yeah.
It just says, "Can you feed me? I'm hungry." No, so your first question is from one of your best friends, Haiti.
Oh.
When you're feeling off or stuck in a negative headspace, what are some things that you do that can help to put you out of that place and bring you joy?
Honestly, like, giving Millie a little hug is really grounding for me. I don't know what it is about dogs, but often when I'm in a bit of a headspace, I'll call her over and just give her a little pat or bring her into my lap, and I feel like that just really grounds me. Getting sunshine is always a good one. Being out and going for a walk on the beach, I think, is always really good at clearing my head and making me feel a little bit.
Millie knows sometimes too when you need a bit of a hug as well, doesn't she? She just comes. She looks at you and she comes. I think she's an emotional support dog.
Well, I think maybe because
without the degree,
my natural tendency when I'm upset or I'm overwhelmed is to retract and to go into my room and to close off and to like be stuck inside a dark room. I think having Millie, taking her out, going for a walk on the beach, you know, feeling the sand in my feet and sunshine and breathing the fresh air, like that is really helpful and it really helps me.
Your next question is from Jade.
Yeah.
And shout out Jade.
Beautiful soul.
The beautiful soul. If you could redesign the way this world is to create more of a utopia, what would be the top 3 changes?
Oh, top 3. Oh my gosh. I don't know if I can do top 3, but I will make a general comment about what I would change. A lot of people, and we're all guilty of this, aren't approaching others with kindness. I think there's a lot of hate and there's a lot of negativity and there's a lot of snap judgments at the moment, and you see it a lot on social media in particular. But people jump to conclusions and they believe the worst in people. And I think that's a really big problem at the moment. Like, yeah, it's really sad to see people's responses to, you know, harmless videos or things that are posted on social media. Like, you don't know that person's background, you don't know their story, you don't know what caused them to post that or what led up to that. And it's so often met with hate. And I think that people are changing themselves because of that response. You know, people can't be their authentic self and people can't show up as who they are because it's so often met with judgment. It's
like that cancel culture. Like, you're so afraid to show yourself or be your real self because it's met with so much hate. Yeah, and it is like all that social media stuff. Like, it's something that it grinds my gears too. I don't understand, like, a simple video and you look at the comments and people are just hating on it and you're just like, well, I don't understand. Like, I don't understand, like, why you have to write something at all if you hate it.
Yeah, and even things like this, like your podcast is such a good platform for people and it's such positive conversations. But I'm sure that once it gets to a point where more people are seeing it, you know, there's always going to be that one person that's going to jump on here and say like, oh, well, that's not right. Or like, oh, I did that in my past relationship and that didn't work out. And like, you know, there's always going to be an opposing opinion. And it doesn't mean that it's not valid, but it doesn't mean that you have to say it to that person. Yeah. And, you know, that has such a big impact. Like, that can stop people from coming here. That can stop people from sharing their stories and stop people from posting things. And people can start to shift and change their personalities and change who they are. And, yeah, I just think that that's really sad. I think that more people just need to hold space for the fact that people are different. People are allowed to be different, have different opinions. And, you know.
Love that. Yeah. Jordan, that's been fun,
yeah,
hasn't it?
It has been fun.
I've loved that.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you very much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Really looks comfy.
It's not too different to the chats that we have at home, is it? But like I said at the start, I think it's really important that you come on and we sort of dive more deeper into our relationship and how's it progressed over time and how's it affected even my decision to make the podcast. And
and we're not doing this as well because we think that we've gotten to a point where our relationship is perfect as well. I think the whole reason that we wanted to have this chat is because we can acknowledge that we're far from perfect and that we've actually had a lot of things go on in our relationship that has got us to this point, and that, you know, it's okay to chat about those things. Because I think, so many people feel that pressure to show up and be like, our relationship's so good, we're happy all the time, we hardly ever fight.
Yeah.
But that's not true, you know. We can have fights and we can still be a really healthy, good relationship.
Yeah.
And people like to chat about that.
Okay, we better sign this off because Millie is getting restless. I think she's hungry. So, Millie, can you just say in the camera?
That. Oh,
can you just say in the camera? Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.
But we won't because I shot in the studio.
But we won't.